Located in the Uinta Basin, about 150 kilometers east of the Salt Lake City, the 480-acre Skinwalker Ranch looks like a peaceful place from afar, but it is not a peaceful place at all for those who live in it. Because unexplained terrible events are happening on this farm. Although UFO reports of the area where Skinwalker is located, which is called the UFO farm due to its 50-year history of strange events, date back to the 1970s, the events that took place were first published in 1996. Famed as the farm with UFOs, even though the events show that there are more than meets the eye. Because besides the unidentified flying objects, there was also lost and mutilated cattle, large animals with red eyes that wasn't injured when it was shot, portals and invisible objects. Reports up to 100 of cases. The Skinwalker farm is a place that hosts paranormal events. My name is Berkay ATLAS. A new paranormal story begins. According to the Navajo belief, this farm is located on the path of the witches named Skinwalker. According to the belief, these witches passed through this farmland and hid in a place called the Dark Canyon, and came out at night and kidnapped people. For this reason, the Navajos had forbidden tribal members to set foot on this land. But the fact that the Navajo forbade these lands did not mean anything to non-Native Americans. People who did not know or care about this prohibition tried to live on this farm until the late 1900s. One of these families, the Myers family, settled on this farm in the 1930s, and lived a quiet life here for about 60 years. Until the year 1987. In 1987, the Myers family suddenly left this farm. The farm remained unclaimed for 7 years. Unclaimed by humans. 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman couple bought the farm, which was quite cheap. The Sherman couple, who have 2 children, believed that they had found their dream home to live with their children and were very happy. They were unaware of the events that would follow. The fact that it had a vast green land, the southern side was surrounded by a tall hill, and there was a shallow wooden area around it, were the important factors that led Terry Sherman to pick this farm. Because he was a high-end cattle breeder. This farm was not only his dream, it was a place that had the large area he needed to make a living and was safe. At least that's what he believed. However, this place would cause him to collapse both financially and psychologically. The couple Terry and Gwen realized that the farm needed care when they saw the farm for the first time. Because the farm had not been owned by anyone for 7 years. A farm that has been empty for 7 years, of course, would have been in need of maintenance. That was normal. But there were a few things that were not normal. The fact that all the doors and windows of the farm were covered with numerous locks attracted the couple's attention. There were even many locks in the kitchen cabinets inside the house. In addition, there were thick chains driven into the ground with steel stakes at the front and entrances. Why was such a high-level security measure needed on this farm, where only one family lived? What scared the previous owners of the farm so much? Terry and Gwen didn't feel the need to question these locks, thinking that the elderly couple they bought the farm from was paranoid and overprotective. The reason they thought so was based on unusual clauses in the real estate contract. For example, according to one of these clauses, the Sherman couple could not dig up the land without permission from the previous owners of the farm. Although such items seemed absurd to the Sherman couple, a terrible question was bothering them in one corner of their minds. What was it that frightened the former owners of the farm so much and made them take such measures? First day on the farm. The Sherman couple, who thought they were going to live a happy life on the farm, had started to experience strange things from the first day. While unloading the moving truck in front of their house, they saw a wolf slowly approaching them from a distance. When Terry saw this wolf, he alarmed at first. This wolf was almost 3 times larger than a normal wolf. But this wolf seemed friendly, not aggressive. Even though Sherman had approached the couple about 20 meters, he continued to show affectionate attitudes. Just at this time, a cow cub in the corrals began to watch the wolf by sticking its head through the iron bars. Noticing this, the wolf suddenly jumped there and put his enormous jaw on the cow's head. Then he tried to drag the cow through the iron bars. Terry and his father, who were with him, tried to save the cow by attacking the wolf with the tools they had. But this method had not worked. Terry took his .357 Magnum and shot the wolf once. But that didn't help. The wolf was not injured at all. Terry, taken aback, fired once more at the wolf. Again, nothing happened to the wolf. But after the third shot, the wolf slowly retreated about 3 meters, leaving the cow. There were no signs of injury on the wolf. Terry shot at the wolf several more times and finally managed to lure him away from the farm. Together with his father, they followed the wolf's tracks for about 1.5 kilometers. However, they could not go any further because the tracks they were following disappeared in an instant. The events of that day were the first harbingers of other events that would happen on the farm. A few weeks after these events, Gwen Sherman was sitting in her car when she saw a very large wolf pass by. Right behind this giant wolf was another dog-like animal that she couldn't identify. These two had walked past Gwen and walked away without doing anything. For the next 2 years, the Sherman family and other people living in the area constantly reported to the police that they saw strange animals in this area. Among these animals seen were exotic birds, human-like creatures and Bigfoot, which had never been seen in this region before. In fact, the Shermans once saw a very strange creature resembling a hyena attack one of the horses on the farm. According to the Shermans, this creature was walking very close to the ground. He also had a muscular build, weighing at least 200 kilograms. The creature had just disappeared from view when Terry approached him. The horse that was attacked had paw prints. Other people in the area said they saw a similar creature in their garden in the following days. But that wasn't the only thing people saw. The Sherman family and other people, who constantly saw strange lights and flying objects, reported them to the local security forces. Because, every time these objects appeared in the sky, something happened to the animals on the farm. For example, one day when these objects appeared, Sherman's 4 of the 7 best cows disappeared without a trace. The remaining 3 were partially mutilated and left for dead. Another strange part of the incident was that the decapitated cows had holes ranging from 15 to 40 centimeters on them. However, there were some paranormal events happening at the farm. For example, on some nights the garden was inexplicably illuminated, and large sounds that disturbed the ears sounded from under the ground. In addition, some of the objects in the house disappeared and reappeared in the following days. Some whispering sounds belonging to a foreign language could also be heard on the farm. Shapeless beings resembling black shadows had also begun to be seen. These beings were looking in through the window of the house, and then entered and stood at the bedside. These were not the only events that happened. Terry woke up one morning to find that tons of soil on the land had disappeared in masses. In other words, tons of soil had suddenly disappeared during the night hours without leaving any trace. The psychology of the Shermans was now broken. Day by day, the intensity of paranormal events was increasing. The family, who thought they would be happy when they arrived at the farm, witnessed terrible events. The biggest event where they decided to notify the press was very scary. In May 1996, Terry was sitting calmly outside with his dog at 3 p.m. when he suddenly saw a blue light appear from a field near the farmhouse. Seeing this ball of light moving over the field, the dogs barked and ran towards the field where there was light. When the dogs, who had chased the ball of light into the bushes, decamped decently into the bushes, Terry heard a terrible squealing sound. He called out to his dogs but got no response. The next morning, when he went there to check on the dogs, he found 3 burned spots on the floor. The dogs were never seen again after this incident. This latest incident was the last straw. They no longer had dogs to protect them, nor farm animals to use for a living. The Shermans had lost all their assets because of this farm. The psychology of the whole family is broken. The children had failed in their educational life because they could not sleep. Gwen had lost her job at the bank and was about to freak out. For this reason, the Sherman family began to share all the events they experienced to the local press for 2 years. Although the stories he told were ridiculed by some, they spread to the press and managed to become popular. All these events that have been described attracted the attention of a billionaire businessman named Robert Bigelow. Since Robert was curious about such issues, he bought this farm in 1996 and set up a team to investigate the events on the farm. Over the next 10 years, Bigelow's team collected a lot of evidence about the strange events here. Every piece of evidence gathered and every incident witnessed by the team revealed that the Sherman family was telling the truth. But whatever had scared the Sherman family for 2 years, this time there was a fearless team in front of him.